What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Really appreciate you guys press and play on another one of our episodes. Always a good time over here. This week, I'm joined by a gentleman whose name's Colin Beatty. He is the North Texas sales rep for our partner, Wiley X. We started working with Wiley X earlier this year. They make sunglasses and eye pro, previously kind of transitioning from the military kind of contractor sector into now being available to the everyday consumer and everything, and producing some high quality sunglasses, eye pro, and meeting the needs of consumers in those areas and everything. They've been around for a while and they've been producing great products for our nation's military forces, and now they're doing it for all of us. So we're winning in that regard. But we had Colin on to talk about a lot of different things when it comes to Wiley X, talking about the history and kind of where they came from. We definitely do some comparisons to how Wiley X holds up to other competitors' products in that industry. We talk about their testing process, some of their quality control stuff, the standard for Wiley X glasses and what sets them apart, what makes them incredible. And then we get to talk a little bit with Colin just about some of his personal experiences with them and in the outdoors and fishing with his kids and that kind of stuff. So it's a great episode. If you guys are looking for a good quality pair of eyewear that is going to last you forever, that looks good, that you can work in, you can wear it to Sunday morning church, you can wear it out to dinner with the family, you can go fishing in it, you can wear it to your blue collar job, whatever it is, and it works, it holds up, and it looks good for all those purposes and it's comfortable, then you got to go check out Wiley X. Wiley X offers listeners to this podcast episode a discount code valid between now and July 31st, 2025. So if you guys want to go place an order and save some money on a pair of glasses, you can use the code FALL15, FALL15, and that will save you guys some money at checkout. I mentioned that code again at the end of the episode if you guys forget it after you listen to the conversation. So be sure you guys go check out Wiley X, show them some support, get you a pair of glasses that are going to last forever. I love mine. I'm hard on my glasses. I talked to Colin about that. I'm a firefighter full time, so they see some wear and tear with me between the woods and my job and everything, and they hold up well. So we vouch for them. I've talked in previous podcasts about how we at Fall Obsession try to affiliate ourselves with brands and products that we truly believe in, that are field tested and proven by us before we ever even enter into a partnership. Wiley X meets that standard, and I can't vouch for them enough. Guys, go check them out and hope you enjoy this podcast. The quick little bit of housekeeping that I got for y'all before we turn over to the conversation with Colin is making sure that you guys are subscribed to the show on whatever platform you guys are listening to. If this is your first time listening to a Fall Obsession podcast episode, please hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever's up there for you. Turn your notifications on if that's an option. That way, you guys know every week when we drop a new podcast episode. The episodes can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts in the audio form. And then if you want to watch the podcast video, that is found on our YouTube channel. We put those out on Thursdays every week, so you guys can go watch the conversations if that's more your thing. Make sure that you guys are following us on social media. We are on all the major social platforms. If you're on there, Fall Obsession's probably on there. You guys can look us up and be sure you follow along because we post regular and frequent updates, not just from me down here in Texas, not just from the show, but from our staff and our content creators that are spread out throughout the entire country, sharing their experiences and their knowledge in hunting in the outdoors. We are a blue collar, high quality hunting and outdoor media production company. We work really hard to bring you guys some high quality content that's relatable to you guys. So make sure that you are following along. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. On that same note, the podcasts are obviously on there. We also have some hunting shows on there, some films, some gear reviews, some how-to videos, all sorts of great stuff hitting the YouTube on a frequent basis. So be sure you are subscribed to Fall Obsession on YouTube. FallObsession.com is the website. That's where you guys can find all of our content filtering through there, including some awesome educational articles that we're putting out right now. One of our authors, Ryan, up in New York, he is doing some great work for us and putting out some educational pieces for you guys to read and check out. So make sure you guys show him some love and go look at those. And then we also have a team right now over here at Fall Obsession that are working on designing some brand new apparel concepts that are going to hit our online store in the very near future. You guys don't want to miss that. Again, make sure you guys go check out fallobsession.com. And the last thing that I have for you guys is a platform called Carbon TV. If you haven't heard of it, go check it out. It's like Netflix for hunting, except it is free, and there are hundreds of different hunting shows, films, and podcasts on there for you guys to check out and stream, like I said, for free from your phone, your smart TV. Just pull it up on your computer, whatever it might be, and you will find four different Fall Obsession produced shows on that platform. This podcast, as well as our staff inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, that's on Carbon TV. And then we have two different hunting shows titled Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Again, all of those are on Carbon TV. Go start streaming today. With that, we're going over to our conversation with Colin. We're going to learn some more about Wiley X and the awesome stuff that they're doing over there. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name's Sam, hosting you guys as always. My guest this week is from one of our partners, Wiley X, actually based out of here in Texas, where I'm at now. Colin Beatty is with me. He is their North Texas sales rep. Welcome to our podcast, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super, super stoked, man. And I know we've been chatting a little bit before we started recording and everything, kind of getting to know each other. But for our listeners and everything, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of tell them where you're from, who you are, and what you do for Wiley.
Sure. My name's Colin Beatty. I live in Frisco, Texas, where Wiley moved its headquarters to in 2023. I am the North Texas sales rep for the optical division. So my territory extends from Texarkana to El Paso North. So I travel around to optical shops, make sure they're trained up on the product, make sure everything's in stock, and then deal with any issues that come up from them.
Gotcha. And you have worked for Wiley for around the same time frame since they came here to Texas, correct?
Greg, I started about 3 months after we moved headquarters.
Gotcha. And so I've been talking to Erica, as you know, one of our reps over there that has helped establish this relationship that we have with y'all's brand and everything. And the eyewear is second to none in my opinion. But that out of all the things, it's one of the many things I want to talk about. But one of the things that I did want to start off our conversation with was just the history of Wiley X and the brand, because when I wear the glasses around, people see the logo. There's some people, normally those with a former military background, that might recognize it and be like, "Oh, you wear Wileys." And there's other folks that are like, "What are those?" And
Yeah.
they really haven't heard of them before. So if you don't mind, kind of give us a little bit of a history lesson on the brand Wiley X and kind of where it came from and how it got to be more mainstream as they are today.
Yeah, so we were founded about 35 years ago by Miles Freeman Sr. Miles had served in Vietnam, and he had realized, that the eye protection that the military issued was not up to standard, right? It wasn't something that was really protective, useful, and comfortable to wear, right? So we started with the military, and we now are supply about 50% of the military's eyewear. Um, Miles unfortunately passed away a few years back, and Dan and Miles Jr. took over the company. Miles and Dan knew the history that we had in the military, and they wanted to bring Wiley X to a more mainstream market. So for the past few years, we have been appealing to the American outdoorsman, right? A company that is headquartered in the United States, is veteran founded, second generation family owned, is a rare thing in America these days. And so, they put that pride and effort into every product that we make. And, it really shows. Like you said, you've used them. We really are on a different level as other optical manufacturers. Um, and it's only going to get better. The designs, the work that we're putting out. I mean, the response has been tremendous, and the overall quality and just use has expanded far beyond anything that Miles Senior ever could have imagined, I think.
That's awesome. So what do those product comparisons look like? Because and I mean you know good and well just as much as the next guy how many different kinds of
Yeah,
sunglasses there are out there now. It seems like I can't scroll my social media feed without seeing a ad for, some
yeah.
brand of eye pro, right? So what specifically sets Wiley X apart? Why are they better than the competitor, in your opinion?
All right, so a couple of things we do sets us apart. The first thing I think is going to be our testing, right? If you go to headquarters in Frisco, Texas, and you take a tour of it, you're going to go through the testing lab. And the testing lab has three different parts to it. The first part is where we basically heat and freeze the frames for, I believe the heat is 3 days and the freezing is 36 hours. And if I remember correctly, it's like 160 degrees in heat and negative 40 in the cold. Then we take it over to the actual ballistic testing, right? And there's a couple different levels for it, right? There's the APEL, which is it's the approved protective eyewear list for the Army. And then we have just our Z87 rating, right? Everything we do has a protection rating to it. Um, so what I deal with mostly is the occupational side of it, right? The Z87 ratings. One of the tests we do is we take a 1.1 pound spike and we drop it on the frame from, I believe it's 7 feet. We
Hmm.
take a 17 caliber BB and we shoot it. We take a 22 caliber BB and we shoot it, and we take a 25 caliber BB and shoot the frame. And I carry a failed test around with me, and I take it to opticians and I say, "Tell me where this frame failed. Right? Where on the lens did you see?" I've only had two opticians be able to check out the tiny little indent that caused our lens to fail. And then that third room, they do stuff like they test polarization. They make sure that the optical focal point is exactly at 6 feet in front of you, so that both lenses converge and it produces less eye fatigue. Um, Another part that we really do well in is light filtering technology. Right, there's something we do called Captivate. It's basically red, greens, and blues. It controls the light transmission of it, so colors appear more vibrant and bright.
Hmm.
Where that helps is if you're fishing in deep sea water, or hard to see water, you have your polarization and then you have your blue Captivate lens on it. It just helps all the little things stand out a little bit more.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm I've been very impressed so far with the durability because
Yeah,
I'm hard on glasses, and I have another pair that I've used for work and everything from a different brand, and like they're all scratched up and kind of tore up and everything. They've been through the ringer, and I'll give them props. They're still trucking if you like
yeah,
scratched up and beat up glasses, but like for these and the amount of time that I've had them so far and what I've put them through, I'm like, man, I feel like I just pulled these things out of the box again,
yeah.
practically. Like they are still just doing incredible. So, yeah, it's been really really awesome to get to put them to the test in both the hunting and outdoor world, and then with my job as a firefighter as well, wearing them there. And yeah, they've done some work. Hey guys, sorry to cut y'all off from the conversation. We'll get back to it in just a second, but first I want to tell you guys about Hoot Camo. Hoot Camo is one of the best camouflage brands out there for the blue collar hunter. The prices, you can't beat them. The patterns are extremely versatile. They work in so many different environments. I have worn Hoot Camo hunting whitetails, hogs, and turkeys down here in the hardwoods, the mesquites, the scrub brush of Texas. I've worn it in the flatland plains of eastern Colorado hunting mule deer. I've even worn it in the mountains of central Idaho hunting elk. It works in so many different places. It is extremely high quality gear, extremely warm, holds up well against the elements. You cannot beat it. Go to hootcamo.com, use the code FALLOBSESSION15 on your next order, no matter how big or small it is, and check out everything that Hoot Camo has on there for you guys.
Yeah, the I unfortunately got to test one of our frames beyond what I intended to. I was talking to the VA on the phone, and I was holding the paperwork over a lit candle, right? And anybody that's ever talked to the VA knows that that is a frustrating conversation, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're just calling to get like an ID number or something, it's a tough conversation. So I put those papers down and I walked to my bedroom and I got something. I came back and the papers had caught on fire. Well, I had set the papers down on top of my aspect frame, and so my aspect frame was actually burning for about 30 seconds.
Oh,
I put
dang.
the fire out, and the frame was still intact. The lens was still intact. The only thing that was bubbled was the actual the mirror coating on the top of the frame. So at 30 seconds at that amount of heat, the only thing it did was cause a little bit of fraying on the frame and a bubble on the lens, which is
Wow.
pretty incredible to think about. You know, if you put a competitor's frame up in that same situation, it's going to melt right apart,
Hmm.
especially the lenses. So an unintentionally stupid act on my part ended up being a pretty cool story that I take that frame around to and show people, and um, they get to benefit from my stupidity there.
I hear you. So while we're talking about testing a little bit, what I want to dive into the kind of the product development stage of that or that realm, if you will, because um, I mean I'm curious myself, I guess I should say, where do y'all come up with a concept to develop a new pair of eyewear? What does that process look like as far as figuring out, okay, this is what we're going to make, this is going to be the intended purpose, and this is the standard that it needs to meet?
Right. So everything we do is designed in-house, right? And what our designers really work on is to find the right fit, weight, and balance, right? So that if you're putting a frame on, it fits your head correctly. There's no pressure points, there's no parts that are creating fatigue because as you know, wearing other brands or any brand of sunglasses, if just a little thing is off on your eyewear, it really creates a lot of frustration in you. So that fit, weight, and balance, we want the frame to almost be lightweight to where you can't tell that you're wearing anything, right? And
Hmm.
the balance is real important because it needs to be equal on each sides of your face, right? So, for instance, one of the things that our guys have developed, the hydrophilic temples, they get stickier as you sweat. I'm sure you've experienced it. You've been out on a hunt or been outside, even just on a blazing hot Texas summer day, right? As you start to sweat, your frames start to slide down your face. Well,
Hmm.
this material will cause it to stick to your head and your nose so that it stays in place while you're moving. Um, so basically, how we work on this is we find out where there is a need, where the pain point is for that frame. One of the things we do a lot is really unique size frames, right? We have things like the Peak XL, the Prime XL. Those are really large sized frames for guys with larger heads. There's not a lot on the market for that. And so our design guys look at that. They look at the size that's missing. They build it out. We have a 3D printer that prints the frames. These guys review it. They look at it, make changes as they want, and then we go and we put them out to the actual consumer. Um, it's a it's a pretty long process, usually 2 years to 18 months for any design.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, they make sure that the design is exactly what's needed for that use case or that fit style that we are putting out.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I didn't realize it was that long of a process. That definitely shows at the same time because by the time it gets to a consumer like me, I feel like it's pretty it's like, man, these
Yeah.
like I said earlier, these things are awesome. They fit very, very comfortably. What's your favorite pair personally?
So initially, my favorite pair was the Aspect, right? Um, it has spring hinges on it. It fit my head really well. We just released the Jackal.
Hmm.
So the Jackal came out in a unique frame. Colton Kyle came into headquarters. He worked on a frame for the American Sniper Project for his dad, Chris Kyle. that's the current frame that I'm wearing. It's a semi-rimless frame. It's a pretty large frame, but it fits for the most part, every face style that I have put it on so far. It's lightweight, it's easy to use, and the one that I'm wearing has a red and black color scheme to it, and it has the Frogman logo on one of the lenses. It's just a cool thing, and the reason I have a bunch of different colors of the Jackal that I carry around with me and show to shops. I wear that particular one because we are in Texas, right? And Chris Kyle is an American hero,
Hmm.
and that frame honors him, right? And it's fun to walk around and just tell the story of it, and say that we're keeping Chris's legacy alive by products like this, and reminding everyone that not only was he a exceptional service member, right, but he dedicated his life to helping those with PTSD afterwards. And so the story behind that one and my service in the Army, that it it definitely holds a lot of weight for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned to me when we were chatting before the episode that I mean you had worn Wiley X before they were even on your radar for an employment opportunity when you
Yep.
were in the military and everything. So um, as far as those military contracts, and at least the folks I have talked to about, and you can shed some light on this from your perspective, but are there like just standard brands that you are and are not allowed to wear in the military, and Wiley X being one that you are?
Correct. So they all have to be on an approved list for eyewear, right? And um, they actually have to be marked with APEL on the frame. That lets whoever's inspecting, right, whether it be your first sergeant or commander, that you are wearing an approved frame by the U.S. government, right? Basically, those are just more ballistically rated than what we would sell for like a Z87 rating. They have a little bit higher standards, and there's a few brands on there, right? And you get issued a number of different brands throughout your time in the military. Wiley, I was fortunate enough to be issued. I did wear it overseas in Afghanistan, and I can say it made a tremendous difference. I had another brand's while I was over there. I was wearing it, and the temple melted to the side of my head while we were out. I felt some kind of tingling on the right side of my head, and I reached up and I pulled my frame off, and a whole bunch of silicone mess came with it. And
Yeah.
some of it stuck to my head for about a week. It was a little awkward, but after that, I didn't try any other brands. I just stuck exclusively with Wiley throughout my deployment.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then, I mean, I didn't realize how long they had been around. I wasn't unfamiliar to the brand itself when we first started, talking with you guys and eventually entering into a, partnership and everything. But I uh I did not realize how long they had been around just because again, it seemed like back then, and I believe this was the case, they weren't really available to the consumer. It was just military contracts, is my understanding at least. So
Right, and it's for a while it was only military. Now we're expanded into every aspect, right? We're in outdoor shops, we're in gun shops, optical shops. The PX on base has a selection of us. Clothing and sales usually has the APEL rated ones. From my experience, that may have changed. It has been 10 years since I've walked inside of a PX, so they tend to have the good idea fairy hit and change things around.
yeah, for sure. The what does the warranty, the replacement, the guarantee, what's that look like for Wiley and their products?
So warranty is a lifetime warranty on the frame, right? So if anything that shouldn't happen happens to it, you can contact us and we'll take care of that frame. Uh, Lenses are a little bit different, right? We do have a one-time scratch on RX where we can replace it for it, but we really don't have that many problems. I mean, you've had your experience with them, like you said, you're rough on your frames. I specifically try to beat up my frames. I have frames for my kids. They're 10 and 12. They are a menace, right? They will break anything you can find. Um, And when we go fishing or even when we're just out riding in the car, my kids wear Wiley frames and we try to destroy them, right? And it is so difficult to do. They hold up in so many different circumstances and just continue to perform at amazing levels throughout the life of them.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, so you're a regional sales rep and everything, so I'm sure you talk to a lot of people and hear a lot of stories. What's the craziest story you've heard about a pair of Wiley X's holding up in a circumstance that that anything else probably wouldn't have? Hey folks, if you guys are in the North Texas area like I am, then you need to go to Bear River Archery and Pro Shop in Van Alstyne, Texas. Justin and the guys up there have an incredible operation set up. They will take great care of you and all of your archery needs. They are the official bow shop in North Texas of Fall Obsession. I love going there, and I'm picky. If you guys know me, I am very selective on who I let work on my bow. I will let Justin work on my bow. They do great stuff. Check out Bear River Archery and let them know that Fall Obsession sent you.
Yeah, so I got two of them for you. And the first one, we had a gentleman come speak to us at our sales conference in 2023, and his name is Greg Stube. He's a retired Green Beret Sergeant First Class. And he had a really bad day in Afghanistan. Very short, condensed version of it. He was in a Humvee that got attacked, hit an IED. He was he I think it was 90% of his body was covered in burns.
Mm.
He crawled out of the Humvee. He got shot a few times, and he was wearing Wiley X goggles at the time. And he showed us photos from him in the hospital after he was medevaced, and you could see where the fire had damaged his body everywhere, except for his eyes. There was a perfect outline of his Wiley goggles right over his eyes.
Wow.
And the most powerful thing he said is he looked over at his fiance who attended with him, and he said, "You guys don't understand. I can see her because of you today."
Hmm.
And that was a really strong moment for me because it's what we're producing actually makes a difference. If you think about life without eyesight, that's something that completely changes your life. If you lose an arm, lose a leg, you're still able to see what you're doing. If you lose your eyesight, you are dependent on another human for the rest of your life. And then the second one is kind of a crazy story. It was a skydiver, and we got a photo 2 weeks after this gentleman had jumped through a cloud, and this cloud was a thunderstorm cloud, and it had hail in it.
Oh my word.
So this man's face looked like he had been shot with like paintballs at point blank range all over except where his Wileys were. And this was 2 weeks after. I mean, his face was still bruised and everything, but his eyes, just around the eye socket and everything, perfect. Not a single thing.
Wow.
And he was pretty pleased with the performance of his glasses at that time.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, we suggested not jumping through clouds anymore. Probably not the best idea.
Or yeah, like I have not related to the Wileys, but now I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, like I mean, did you not see it? But yeah, he was lucky on that. I can't imagine the pucker factor of jumping through a cloud and realizing it's an active thunderstorm cloud. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, that's one of those that I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, but I'm like, man, I feel like I would be looking at the weather before I go skydiving.
One of those things that seems pretty important, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Well, what other significant things, and I know we're flying through some stuff and we've been talking about the brand for a little while now and everything, but what other specific things that we might not have hit on or in great detail on, in your opinion, that you want to share about the products, the brand, what you guys do, and that kind of stuff?
Um, let's see. One of the cool things that Wiley just did, and it's kind of, it's more in terms of our sponsorship deal, is we're a partner with the Medal of Honor Museum, which recently opened up here in Arlington, Texas. If you haven't seen it or seen pictures of it, it is absolutely unreal to see. The roof looks like it's floating on these pillars, and we got to go out to the opening party of it. The Freemans were there, and then everyone else could kind of go out and sit on the grass and watch a drone show for it, and it was absolutely incredible. And the amount of just honor that we're giving these men that did such incredible things, um, and to help build that monument to their sacrifice meant a lot. And the drone show was amazing. It showed all the different medals, and it had um, just this entire show about what this museum would do. And so Miles Jr. was a big part of that, and it was a pretty cool thing to see. Uh, in addition, the one thing that really sets us apart would be the Captivate light filtering technology. Um, Obviously with my military experience, I've shot a couple rounds downrange, right?
Yeah.
And I've used a lot of competitors that have similar light filtering technologies. What I have found is that Wiley is far beyond the best at it, right? For instance, if you're shooting with optics and you've got a red reticle, right? When you have a Captivate in either green or red, that really pops. So when you're putting sights on target, you can acquire it much faster and a much more accurate way to say, okay, this is directly on point. And it's so quick and so fast that it just makes a huge difference when shooting.
Hmm.
I was unsure of how it would work at first, that the idea that, your lens could amplify colors. And I think the first day that I was wearing my Wileys, I drove by a place that I drive all the time, and I was like, wow, they have flowers there, right? And it's all because the Captivate technology pulled those colors out and brightened them up. And
Wow.
it was kind of like, okay, I like this. Let's see what else it does for me. And it's over the time, just with fishing with my kids, and even just going on a hike out here, right? Like the color amplification makes everything more clear. It makes everything just a little bit nicer, and especially when you're outdoors, man, it just really amplifies the beauty of where we live.
100%. And that, I mean, I'll vouch for that. That's a big part of what I get out of the outdoors, right? Is
Yeah.
is is being able to take all that in and experience all that. And yeah, if you have something as simple as just a tool on your face, just a pair of glasses that can help that. All other things aside, I'm down. I love that. That's awesome. What with you're a veteran, former military, and coming into, a civilian job with this eyewear company and everything. Is that something that Wiley does pretty commonly as far as bringing folks with prior military experience on
Oh
board
yeah.
with their team and everything? That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
we have a number of veterans that work with us. One of my favorite things about headquarters is every room in headquarters is dedicated to a Medal of Honor recipient.
Oh wow.
So there's a plaque on the wall in each room, and it lists who it is and what their citation was for. Um, you know the um, the culture is overall very appreciative of the service members, law enforcement, first responders, right? We know that that's what built Wiley X into what it is today. And that's why we can expand and move out into the American outdoorsman today, is because of the foundation the military laid for us.
That is awesome. I love stories, and not just stories, but in this case, like the actions of a brand and that kind of stuff, to pay that kind of respect, right? To put that kind of effort into something like that, like at their headquarters or just in general. Yeah, that's pretty humbling for sure. I love to
Yeah,
see that. That's good stuff.
yeah, yeah. And when you go into the Groman conference room or something, you remember who that is, right? And
Hmm.
Um, one of the things that Memorial Day just passed, and if you remember the names, they never really die, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so it's a cool part about Wiley is those men that gave the ultimate sacrifice that did incredible things. They will not be forgotten.
Absolutely. Man, good for y'all. That's awesome. Um, Going through my notes and everything, I know we've talked a lot about the product, the brand, and everything thus far. Um, I have on here like your own personal outdoor experiences and everything. I know from us chatting before, you haven't spent a whole lot of time hunting and everything, but you do wet a line and get a rod and
Yeah.
reel out every now and then with the kiddos and stuff. So, what's that look like for you? What's y'all's outdoor lifestyle look like for you personally?
So my kids will fish at any time, anywhere, any place. Like I promise you, if I was like, hey, throw it into that grass and see if you could catch something, they would try it. And so what we kind of do is when we go fishing, there's a few places around us. We take different pairs of Wileys with us to see how they perform. And for my kids, it's a little bit more of just a fun. They get to wear a different frame. They know enough about Wiley to understand what they're looking through and what they're doing. And then I get to give real action cases on what's actually happening.
Hey guys, Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. We all have mounts on our walls that represent a significant moment, a significant harvest in the woods for each and every one of us, and photographs can do the same. I'm sure you guys have pictures from years past, hunting with loved ones or being in the woods with family and friends that also represent those big moments. And what Trophy Edits does is they showcase those moments for you guys, just absolutely make your pictures explode and to the level that you guys can put them on the wall and also have that memory forever represented in your home, your office, your man cave, whatever it might be. Give Trophy Edits a chance to do the work for you guys. And again, they make those pictures just absolutely awesome with their professional team of editors. So go to Trophy Edits website. The link is in the podcast description. That lets them know that you guys came from us, and use the code Fall Obsession at checkout to save you guys some money.
We have an optical shop uh, near headquarters that we've been trying to get in for a little bit, and we actually made the office manager a pair of the aspect frame that I had that he could compete or he could show with another brand to see how they compete against each other. And I kept telling him, I'm like, hey man, it's it's the frame I wear when I go fishing. It makes a huge difference. You can see through the water more clearly. You can see where you're casting more clearly. And you don't get as much glare because that particular frame has a polarization to it as well. He tried them, and he's absolutely in love. And we're just about on that point to where we're going to bring them on. Um, but that's the experience of it. I can take my buddies out fishing with me and the kids, and hand them a pair of Wileys and say, "Hey, try this out. See what you think of it." And most of them have never used something like our product before. They picked up, $20 sunglasses from a gas station, just because they need them.
Right.
And when you really put that investment into looking at, okay, this product is designed to be used in the outdoors. It's designed to keep you safe, and the outdoors doesn't just have to be fishing. If you're a hobbyist woodworker and you want to be protected, but also, have great clarity and confidence in what you're making, our frames work great for it. And then if you got to go to Home Depot to pick something up or um, anywhere like that, you can wear them in the car as regular sunglasses, and it works great there too.
That's been a big thing for me is like the same pair that I wear every day that I wear to, the grocery store or doing out to dinner or to church or anything like that is the same pair that I wear on the job, at the firehouse, out in the woods, working on property, food plots, fences, feeders, like all this other kind of stuff. Like it's the same
Yeah,
pair of glasses. So, and that's
yeah.
that's that's awesome. I
What
love it.
what frame do you wear?
So I love the Founders. The Founders
Okay.
are my go-to. I like the I like just kind of the look of them, I guess
Yeah.
is my favorite. I have a pair of, I believe it's the Apex.
Yep.
I wear those sometimes, and then for I have a Jackal as well that I'm also
Okay.
playing around with. So those are kind of the three that I personally am kind of playing with and doing some stuff. And um, I know that y'all just released that Jackal frame and everything, so we're actually trying to here coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think we're working on a little video about that, like our impressions and our thoughts on that frame as
Oh,
well. So yeah, it's pretty neat. So I like getting to play around with stuff and working with Erica to make sure that some of our team members across the country that do all sorts of different things, are equipped with a pair. We're that's pretty awesome to see them in their own professions and um, blue collar jobs and everything, putting them to use and everything. It's awesome. At the same time, they're out fishing with the kids, they're doing whatever, hanging out and
yeah.
still wearing them. So yeah.
Well, the Jackal that I mentioned earlier, the Chris Kyle frame. One cool thing about that one is it's the first one to be denoted that's assembled in America. Um, so we're moving everything over here, and we're going to be manufacturing everything in America and assembling it.
Wow.
So I believe the target date is 2027 for our full line to be completely made in America. But you add that to the veteran-founded, family-owned, second-generation company that's made in America and American headquarters. It's a huge deal. You don't see that much anymore, and we've got all the contracts in place for that, and it was pretty cool to see that assembled in America actually put on the temple of the ASB Jackal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So everything coming to the United States, is that going to be in Frisco in North Texas?
So the pouring of the frames and the lenses will come from other places in America, and then it'll all be gathered together and assembled at headquarters in Frisco.
Gotcha. Awesome. I that was another part for me, and I mean our brand, our reach as an online hunting and outdoor media company is across the nation, and we have people in half of the states out there that are representing us and have boots on the ground. But for me, just being local here in North Texas and everything, it was so cool to be like, man, they're right around the corner from me, like they're right down the
Yeah.
road, and they're doing all this stuff. So that's pretty cool and pretty awesome. But I love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple other questions I wanna throw at you. More specifically for kind of you personally. I normally ask
Yeah.
these to a lot of folks that come on our show for the first time. And that is the first one just being I normally ask about a significant memory in the outdoors that stands out, whether it be hunting or fishing or just any other outdoor activity that you're drawn to. Because I mean, we at the end of the day, we are a hunting show and we tell a lot of stories and share a lot of memories and stuff on our show. So I wanted to ask you if you have a significant outdoor memory that stands out to you in your life.
Oh, that's a great question. I wasn't prepared for that one.
Sorry, I might
Um,
have I might have only just had like outdoor experiences as the bullet point that I sent over. I probably could have been more detailed on that.
that's all right. Um, Man, I think I'm going to go with something recent. Um, my son, who's 10, is involved in Cub Scouts. And, when he got involved too, and I became his den leader and then the assistant pack leader. Um, and so what we do with Cub Scouts is you go on camp outs, right? You learn about all sorts of fun stuff. And it was my son's first experience doing anything like this.
hmm
And I remember we were doing the camp out um, at the end of the night. You do this big bonfire, and we had just retired um, a bunch of flags, right? And we were going through the whole official ceremony of burning the flag and disposing of it properly. Um, and then they got up and they said, the Cub Scouts oath and things like that. And I remember my son just screaming at the top of his lungs, right? And being so happy to be there. And it brought back so many memories of my childhood of just being outdoors. I grew up in Boston and running through the woods and just, enjoying. what was created, right? Like it was a beautiful area. It was so much fun, and just I remember that joy of realizing how much fun the outdoors can be,
Yeah.
and how you can get so much joy is just something simple as walking through the woods, right?
Mhm.
So that's probably the thing that sits out most to me, because it really brought me back to being a kid and to just enjoying that uh, nature's greatness.
That's awesome, man. I love that story. Yeah, that's special for sure. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Other question I have for you. Everybody has a bucket list of some sort, right? And I'm talking specifically like for hunting, fishing, outdoors, or anything like that. Is there anything that just piques your interest and that you would want to do in that realm that would be like a once in a lifetime opportunity for you?
Yeah, that's an easier question. Thank you for throwing me a softball. That's super easy. So for one, I'd love to go fishing off the coast of the Gulf, right? Just take my kids, go out there. They've never been on the ocean like that. I have, growing up in Boston, and just spend that time with them and try to catch something bigger than, a little bluegill that weighs 3/10 of a pound. Um, and then, as we talked about before, I've never hunted, but it's not something that I'm against, right? And I need to pick up with some of these guys that have offered me to come out to their ranches and do some hunting, and just go out there and learn and have fun with it, right? It's it's something that I've been meaning to do for quite some time and just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, those would be some memorable experiences for sure.
Yeah, and I get to actually use my rifles for something other than just the shooting range, right? Like it gets
Yeah.
kind of boring when you're shooting at paper all the time.
I hear you. What's your rifle build of choice?
So I build mine. I usually use Spike's Tactical Lowers. Odin Works is what I usually get my barrels from, and my BCGs. Um, and then honestly, the hand guards and stuff like that are whatever is the most reasonably priced that I actually need.
Yeah.
Um, Optics, I use EOTech, and I actually got a nice piece of glass from TrueGlow a few years ago, when they first released their long range scopes. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, and then I get bored with that rifle and I'll build a different one. And I have all different calibers from 5.56. I did a 6.8 Grendel, or sorry, 6.5 Grendel. It's 6.5 Grendel. 6.8 SPC is the new Army one. 308s, and it's a lot like Legos for adults, right? Like you get to build something, then you actually get to take it out and you get to use it and play with it.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying it. There's so many different places that you guys can tune in to Fall Obsession Podcast, and one of them is the Outdoor Call radio app. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, plays on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications on the other apps. And there's also tons of other hunting shows and podcasts on there that you guys can listen to. Go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow their Facebook page, because Outdoors Dan does some live radio shows throughout the week. And even if you are not local to those radio stations, his broadcasts are shared on his Facebook Live. It's Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app. Go download it today.
So my favorite one is kind of whatever one I'm messing around with and tinkering with at that time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I like that analogy, Legos for adults. I hadn't heard that specifically with rifles or anything yet, and that's pretty accurate. I have rifles. I am not a big rifle guy. I'm an archery nerd. So
Okay.
the way some people like to, just dive in and go deep with rifles and firearms, I'm that way with archery and bows and, arrow builds and bow builds and all this other kind of stuff. So that's kind of where my background comes from, and I can really nerd out with that kind of stuff. So I have an appreciation for folks that
Yeah.
like to tinker with that kind of stuff. It's cool. I enjoy it
Do
too.
Do you use compound or is recurve is the natural, right?
I recurve is the more traditional one for sure. I'm a compound guy. That's what I've always done that. I worked at an archery shop 10 or 12 years ago, and that's where my love for archery kind of stemmed from and everything. And I played in the shop with just some of the shop recurves that we had, just messing around with them, but I have not had one for myself. I have a lot of friends that do, and I'm a little scared to try it because I know that it's just going to be one more thing that that I'm
Yeah.
now drawn into and having to mess with and start spending more money on. So
Yeah. Yeah,
oh
that's I mean it's literally a rabbit hole, right? That you can go
yeah,
down any of these things. That's my daughter's into shooting. My son is more into archery.
nice.
Um, and so we started him out on a recurve, and he's actually pretty good, and he's got some experience with that in the Cub Scouts as well. Um, and I'm impressed by it. I don't have the skills for archery that make me as accurate as I am with a rifle, so I let that be with him, and I stick to what I know and love.
Yeah. No, it's cool to see them stem and develop into something that they love themselves and everything like that. My son, he'll be 7 this month, and he's we got him his first little bow and everything, so he likes to get out there and shoot and everything as well. So
That's awesome.
he's got a little love for it too, and he's learning quick. I started without like it's a little compound, but we started without a sight and without a peep sight and the string and all that kind of stuff, and uh, it was literally days from the time we started to the time where he's using the sight, using the peep, and all this stuff, and he's just like he just wants the next thing. He just wants
Yeah.
to do it more. So he's got a little bug for it, which is awesome. I love seeing it.
What was his reaction to his first bullseye?
It's one of those deals. Just the first time he hit the target, man, it was just like his eyes just light up and he gets all excited, and there's just that moment of shock in their face, like, oh, I actually did it. And then he gets all excited, he's smiling, everything, and kind of the same deal when he hit the bullseye for the first time. It's just that moment of silence and shock on their face, and then
Yeah.
they start laughing or getting excited, and yeah, it's nothing beats it. Nothing beats it.
No, I got my daughter when she was 6. I got her a little BB gun, right? And so I took her out back, and we were learning how to shoot it and everything, and I set her up the way I shoot, right, with right side, right eye,
Yep.
and she kept missing the target, and I was like, all right, you know what, just reset. You get comfortable. You use whatever eye you want to use, and let's see what happens. And she switched over to her left side, and then she was just nailing the bottles at one after the other, and I was like, all right, well, um, this proves that I definitely do not know everything, and I learned a lot about shooting that day. And her face when she started to hit it was just it was awesome. And now she's addicted to it. And my ex-wife, her dad has a farm out in Caddo Mills, and so she'll go out there and she'll shoot a 22 and shoot possums and things like that. And
That's
she just
awesome.
absolutely loves it now.
So she was left eye dominant then and had to
Yep.
move over. See
Yep.
that's what we're dealing with my son right now is he's right-handed, but he's left eye dominant.
Yeah.
But unlike rifles, I know you can build a rifle right that is specifically for like a left-handed shooter, but most part with a rifle you just swap over to the other hand and you can typically dial it
Yeah.
in, as you just mentioned. With a bow, you don't have that. It's either right hand or left hand, and we have a right-handed bow. So right now he's shooting with an eye patch. So
Oh,
before we buy a whole nother bow for him, we're seeing if we can train if he's able to train his eyes to be
yeah.
able to do that. And if he can't, then we'll probably be switching over and he'll end up shooting left-handed. That's how my dad doesn't bow hunt, but that's how my dad is. He's right-handed but left eye dominant. So like he shoots every firearm and everything left-handed. So yeah, it's
Makes just
funny
a
how that
wonderful.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm left eye dominant too, but I learned through basic and everything because before basic I had never shot a rifle. I had shot handguns and bow and arrow, um, and I had to learn to use my right side for it. And it's definitely a task.
Hmm.
But hopefully he can square it away real quick and keep hitting those targets.
Oh yeah. No, he's excited when whether we have to switch to left hand or not, I mean, he's gonna catch on quick and be just fine. So at the rate he's going, so we'll be
That's
all
awesome.
right. But man, I got one question. I was actually gonna ask it earlier and I forgot it. Because you're a sales rep for Wiley X, you spoke earlier, you kind of referenced a shop that you were trying to get your eyewear into and everything. What do you guys look for if there just happens to be somebody that has a shop or might be thinking, man, I could probably you know, be a store or an outlet for them. What's that look like? What's that process look like for vetting, and what do you guys look for as far as places that you try to get your eyewear into?
So really, one of the important things that I look for is whether or not they're an independent optical or not, right? Um, there's a lot of large groups in the optical world that own a lot of stores. The smaller ones, you tend to get a little bit more of the family feel to it.
Mhm.
It's not true in all cases, right? But that's one of the things that you know that you can go in, you can train the staff well, and they will present the product in a manner that is consistent with what Wiley X is.
Mhm.
So you really look for one, the location, how many stores are around it, and are they carrying Wiley, right? That's always an important thing. You don't want to undercut your existing dealers. Um, to who do they carry, right? Do we have a competitor on the board? Do we have somebody that's gonna be uh, another option for a customer that comes in that location?
Right.
Um, and then just the proximity to industrial work around the area, right? Like in Frisco, we don't have a whole lot of industrial work that's surrounded our area. We've got a lot of construction, but not a lot of those guys live in Frisco, right? So what we're looking for in Frisco is really good sunwear and RX business. And one of the things that really separates Wiley from the competitors is our RX parameters, right? You'll get kickback um, from other brands at very mild prescriptions. There's a number of our frames that go all the way to a -10. And so you can get really good quality frames with your prescription and still be able to do the activities and the things that you want and have the protection that you want if you are having to go to a job site for it.
Gotcha. Well, good stuff, man. I know we're getting towards the end of our time here for the podcast, but I know I've already asked this once and you kind of dove into some stuff, but is there anything that we're missing or anything you'd like to share before we completely wrap it up?
Out of my notes, I think that's the only thing I could really say that I don't think I mentioned is on the design process is our intentionality of the product, right? You get a product that is designed for use cases. You get something that is designed to be out there, to be beat up, to be tested every day and still come through on top every day and work out to where you're protected and can see and do your job effectively.
That's awesome. And especially for the people that like me that are using them, that's important. Find value in
Yeah,
that for sure. So I hope others do as well. But
yeah,
well, Colin, thank you, man, for
yeah.
taking some time out of your weekday, your workday, and coming on the show and talking to us about Wiley and everything you guys got going on. We're enjoying the partnership. We're enjoying the glasses. They're working for us. They're doing work for us, and yeah, we're excited to see where this thing goes. So thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, no problem.
I do want to throw it out there to our listeners as well. Wiley X, for this podcast episode, has given us a discount code for you guys if you want to knock a few bucks off of an order. Their iPro, and that's Fall 15, FALL 15, and that'll save you guys a little bit of money between now and July 31st, 2025. So we got these folks over at Wiley to thank for setting that up in conjunction with this podcast, and that will save you guys some money. Colin, thanks again, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, Sam. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Guys, thanks for listening. Be back with you all again next week for another podcast, and I'll catch you then.